Hey everybody, Norm here. This week's episode of This Is Only a Test, the podcast you're listening to right now, was brought to you by Video Blocks. Now, what is Video Blocks, you might ask? It's a subscription-based stock media company that gives you unlimited access to premium stock footage. That's video that anyone can afford. It's premium content at a great value, and everything they host is 100% royalty free. So get your subscription today. Try it out. It's only $99 at videoblocks.com/x/TIOAT. That's www.videoblocks, that's VIDO, video, blocks, like blocks of things, BLOCKS.com/x/TIOAT. And what does TIOAT stand for? Well, it stands for this podcast, This Is Only Test, which is going to begin now. For Thursday, May 19th, 2016, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome everyone, especially those of you who might be watching this podcast on YouTube in video format. You may notice something's a little different, but before we get to that, I want to introduce my co-host this week. I am joined by, to my left, Jeremy Williams.
Hello, Norman.
And what's that on your shirt?
I can't. It's league night.
Oh, like a pinball league night.
That's the one.
Oh, very nice. It's a nice bright orange. And wearing a pixelated shirt with a blue shirt. Well, we're going back to t-shirts. This is old school podcast intro. Kishore Hari.
Hey, this is my Futurama Pixels shirt.
Oh, so it goes, it's that the artistic style where you can take any character, a cartoon character, and reduce it down to 3 vertical pixels. They've done it with Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, and you have Futurama. You should have made me guess. I think Leela is the one who gives it away because of the purple hair, white shirt, and black pants. But it's very good. I like it.
It's very good.
It's very good.
Very, very good.
Are we on to critiquing fashion again?
No. We're not going to go back
because
to that.
Norm, you have a nice button-down shirt today.
Thank you.
I can see you so well in the natural light, Norman.
We're in the natural light. We're calling back to fashion comments and to kick off a podcast. I'm feeling very nostalgic. Very nostalgic because we are making an announcement on this podcast. We haven't told this anyone yet, but this is the last podcast. This is only a test that we're recording in this office.
Yeah, I like how you paused there for a little bit.
The podcast is still going on, but this is the final episode we're recording in this space. We're using natural light. The skylights are open because there are no other lights in here aside from the ugly fluorescence. Our studio lights, which Joey showed off in that great behind-the-scenes video, are gone, unscrewed from the ceilings. We are just going natural. All natural.
It feels like just yesterday that you guys painted these walls and hung these decorations for the set and made this beautiful table.
It feels like just yesterday that we painted these walls the ugly brown, off green brown color, and then had to repaint this. So I'm going to pause for maybe 5 seconds, and people in the video are going to see me run off frame because I'm going to widen the shot up. So entertain yourselves for 10 seconds.
Jeremy, how long have you been podcasting with them?
With Tested?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I don't even know. I want a couple years maybe.
So it's been like 100+ episodes or so that you've been here. Are you feeling nostalgic at all?
No, I can't wait to get to the new place.
You're like, burn this.
To be honest,
burn this place to the ground.
This is episode 351, and we've done podcasts from this room, not this exact set because we redesigned it once, I want to say 150 of those episodes, weekly podcasts. We moved in to this office in summer of 2012. That was a few months after we had teamed up with Adam and Jamie, and we were looking for office space. And if people who had been listening to this only test for beyond that, when we were in the basement with Whiskey Media, know that we recorded some episodes at Will's house, some at my place, but since about June or July of 2012. That's 4 years ago. We've been recording every week in this space. We had two October casts. 2 in this space? Or just the one? I don't even remember.
Are you feeling nostalgic?
I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic. Now, we've pulled the camera back a little bit so you can finally see beyond the walls of the set. And what you can't see, though, is this room is basically 25% as full as it was a week ago. We've been dismantling everything. Everything's going to storage or to our new office. And yes, we will have a new podcast set, a new space, but that won't be ready for maybe a month or so. So we're going to find some interesting places to record episodes. Maybe we'll do it
I
from
like
home.
the natural light. Maybe we're just going to do this podcast outside.
No, that's a terrible idea. It burns.
It burns.
It burns so bad. But for those of you who are in San Francisco, which is where we are right now, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to hang out in our office one last time. To come by and maybe pick up some tested memorabilia.
In exchange for a little cash.
We're doing a garage sale.
Tested garage sale.
The great tested garage sale. So, Will, if you're listening to the podcast, you have until the weekend of Memorial Day to come by and pick up your stuff.
Ain't no way Will's listening to the podcast.
Will,
he gets
someone let him know. Someone let Will know.
Tweet
if he
at
wants,
Will Smith.
If he wants his UCS X-Wing, that's right behind me, which has, I think, a sticker on it that says, "Is this Will's?" Then he should come by and pick up the boxes of things he's left over.
That thing will move. There's so much Lego here.
Yeah, so not everything behind us will make it over to the new set because we're gonna redesign. Things have just accumulated.
Clean slate.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a clean slate, but things here have been born from projects, born from build videos, things that you guys out there have so graciously sent to us for testing mystery mailbags. Much of that is going to be up for grabs, including some furniture. If you are doing a startup, if you have a garage startup and you could use some office chairs, these office chairs, this very desk could be yours. So the garage sale details will be posted on the site, but I'll let you guys know, since you're listeners of the podcast, it will be Sunday of Memorial Day. I'm tentatively scheduling for that. The date for that is, I believe, the 29th of May.
Everything must go. Exact change. Preferred. Small bills.
No. I actually don't want cash.
You don't want cash?
I don't want cash. I think we'll have a way to swipe people's credit cards.
Wow, how high tech.
And just so you know, it's not for charity, but it is for the good of our new office. Anything that we sell, anything we make from the garage sale will go into building out our new office. Now, I can't give out too much information about the new space yet because it's still being worked out, but we are moving to a different place in San Francisco. We're not going to LA or anything. We're finding a better space for us, and we're very excited. So that's the big tested news.
We should toast the office.
We will toast the current office with our Soylent. Let us toast with our Soylent 2.0. Jeremy is having
This is the best thing that we could find a toast with in the office.
It just came in yesterday.
I'm going to save mine.
You're going to save yours?
Save it for what? The toilet?
It's less farty.
Share it with my family.
You know, I heard that it's very good with coffee. That you can mix like a cup of coffee. That already looks like Soylent. What is that you have in that glass bottle?
This is a Bhakti chai. The original.
The original? Yeah, I'm sure.
Go home.
Sure. All right.
Yes,
I've never had
cheers.
Soylent 2.0, but cheers, Norm. Cheers to this office.
Cheers to the old tested office, and apologies in advance for drinking on camera.
So you are promising weekly podcasts, even though you're going to be moving for the next month, right?
Kishore did not like that. Yes, we'll be doing this podcast as regularly as we can.
Not necessarily every week.
And not necessarily because we don't have a space for it, but we do have some travel plans in the next month or two. They're going to take us out of the office or out of the city, and we'll find a way. We'll have to rebuild our setup. But it's fond memories. I wish we had some good memory songs. You know the song I'm talking about. Let it play in your head.
Yeah, we use that during the live show, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking around.
Time of Your Life, Green Day. Is that the one?
Songs we can't play because we don't have the license to. What do you think in the back? Things in the back here. What do you think is the most valuable Batman Tumbler's mine. That's going back home with me.
You're not selling the game frame, right?
We're not selling the game frame. We're not selling the Needler. But there may be some Lego sets here. Man, do we get rid of the old MakerBot?
Don't you have 2 MakerBots,
We
right?
have 3 MakerBots.
Oh, you gotta sell off some of the MakerBots.
The very first one that Will and I built?
Is there an extra fee for you to sign things?
No. We'll take as many selfies and sign as many things all day.
It might lower the price.
Because it'll lower that resale value if they want to flip it. Yeah.
There's a lot of Lego in this office, so there's gonna be some good hauls from here. Damn, there are so many MakerBots back here.
There are. They got the original Cupcake, the Thingomatic, and then over there the Replicator 1.
Some old school O'Reilly coding books down here in the corner too.
That's got to go. That's got to go. Yeah, some lots of toys. Anyway, let's move on to this episode because we got some pop culture news and some tech news. So let's start off with the pop culture news, for which we still don't have an intro. So it's gonna go pop culture news.
Pop culture.
What do we got?
You were up pretty late last night.
I was up till 3 a.m.
My goodness.
This past weekend, I went to the 20th annual Pinagogo show in Dixon, California, which neither of you two have ever bothered to visit.
I've been to Dixon, California.
I've been through Dixon.
I'm talking about Pinagogo, PAG.
I've been to Dixon, California.
All right, well, that's pretty good.
That's where Will and I applied for Amazing Race.
Really?
It was in Dixon, 2-hour drive.
You guys applied to be on that show?
Yeah.
Was it in the fairground?
No, it was at the mall.
I didn't know there was a mall.
How far did you get on the application? Sorry.
No.
Pinagogo, man.
Oh, no. Kishore, we got there early, and it turned out people got there a day and a half before and camped out, and it took maybe 5 hours of waiting in line just to get 30 seconds of them shooting the audition reel. And this is after we already submitted our tape. The tape for which we'll never release the video. I think we already did. I think Bethesda Premium members got to see the audition tape. Anyway, sorry. Pinagogo.
Clearly, I've measured your level of interest.
You've been to Pinagogo. You talked about Pinagogo last year.
I go there every year.
Yeah.
It's a great show. If you're in California, you're into pinball, even 2%, you should check it out. It's every year around this time, and it's very affordable. I think it's like $40 for 3 days entry. All the games are free, hundreds of games. Had a good time. I got to play Archer, which is a custom game, a one-off made by Keith Elwin, who is a world champion pinball player. And it's fun to see a pinball game designed by a master player. And it played very well. There's The Hobbit, the new game from Jersey Jack there. Lots of interesting games, lots of old games. Good people, good place to hang out. Had a great time.
Were there tournaments as well?
Yeah, there were 2 tournaments. One was it's kind of an impromptu thing Friday night where everyone just went out in groups of 4 and played games and came back and reported their scores. The second one was a little more organized, and it was a pin golf tournament, which is an interesting thing. It has nothing to do with score. So everyone splits up into groups, and you have to accomplish a goal in the game, and the number of balls that it takes you to accomplish that goal is your strokes.
Oh, okay. So describe a goal. Is it a trick shot?
A goal in like Attack from Mars might be destroy 2 UFOs.
Okay.
So if you do that in 1 ball, hole in 1. If you do it in 5 balls, 5 strokes.
So it's number of balls, not number of times you hit.
Number of balls. So if it's just
the flipper.
You just don't want to drain, and you don't have to care about your score.
Oh,
so it's interesting. It's for people who, and everyone talks about the rules. You know what you're supposed to get at. So it's a very accessible tournament format. They do that every year.
Okay.
It was a good time. I love Pinagogo. I'm so glad they keep doing it. It's the longest running pinball show west of the Mississippi.
But by the way, do either of you guys watch Shark Tank?
No. I think I've maybe seen an episode.
So on Friday they had a pinball game that was like these custom created cabinets that had the undermounts of screens.
Digital screens.
So, yeah,
was it the one I saw
screens.
at CAX possibly?
It might have been. I'm trying to remember the name right now. I was wondering if you'd ever played games like that.
You mean like a virtual pinball table with a TV instead of a playfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do those things play?
Well, the one we played at California Extreme last year played better than most, but it's still 2-dimensional. It's still got the problem where you can't really lean around the ball and get the sense of where it's going.
Was a company called Pinball Bulbs?
No, it was called VP Cabs. Is what it was called, and they're from.
Those guys weren't the first people to do it. They just did
True.
They just did it very well.
True. I mean, they chose the right monitors to use to have
Low latency.
Low latency, the faster. I mean, I think they could always use faster refresh rate.
And it wasn't too big either. It kind of was manageable size.
Yep.
But I think the pin sim has something on those experiences just because you're actually there. You can I'm not
You're virtually there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're leaning around the ball. You're getting a better sense of it. Everyone who comes over and plays virtual pinball with a cabinet like that, with an actual interface, it turns them around on this whole virtual pinball idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the status right now of the Pin Sim, your 2.0, your wood build?
The prototype is done, and the next phase, the finished version, should be done in, I'd say, another week.
And then is that when you'll start manufacturing for your limited run?
Whoa, that's not public knowledge, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, what he said, X day on the manufacturing.
No, you're not doing it.
It's not. No,
Not happening. All right,
no, I don't know
sorry.
what you're talking about.
All right.
Do either you guys watch
the
Shark
plans
Tank?
are out.
I'm trying to just rewind time.
Yeah, rewind.
Rewind. All right. Well, the Pin Go sounds awesome. I got to go next year.
So
Yes.
that was the Shark Tank. They had a pinball thing. What was it? Well.
Oh, they invested in it.
Oh. Wow.
They went for it?
Yeah.
Those
which
always
is
seem like
weird.
bad ideas.
Yeah, I don't know if that seemed like a terribly great idea. Just
Good for
because,
pinball.
what's the market for that? It's got to be enthusiasts like Jeremy and others,
I know.
which
Yeah.
is it's just not a great investment, is how I see it.
Stern Pinball tried selling actual pinball machines in Costco, for $4,000 or $5,000.
Right.
And it wasn't a big seller. So maybe they're thinking if they can do the same thing for half the price, maybe that would sell. I don't know.
All right. Well, you can find out more information about our projects on Twitter. And soon we'll do amazing things with Twitter. Big news this week. I know it's moving on to tech news, but it really is pop culture news. Twitter is a report from Bloomberg. Is not confirmed yet, but the report is that Twitter is going to take away the character count requirement to embed images and links.
Fine.
So currently, here's how it works. Twitter has a 140 character limit because of its SMS origins. And regardless, there's been arguments of that it should expand it, and people have moved around it. The Twitter community is a culture, have now embraced just embedding images, screenshots of text that they use, and it's worked well.
It's not a great solution.
It's not a great solution. I think you can make an argument that the 140 character limit, that succinctness has worked out maybe by happenstance. Like you can get one thought in or two thoughts in. I don't know if 140 is the perfect number, and I don't know if you could even do a study to calculate what the perfect number of characters based on the English language, right? Average character length. You have to also factor in colloquial spelling techniques, and then also how much time people have before they lose interest in sharing a thought. Like there's got to be some magic equation that gives you the perfect number of characters.
Sounds like the worst research study ever.
It does.
I think it was maybe Conan. A comedian once talked about why they like Twitter so much, and it was because it made them refine their joke and so that it would fit. And they had to think through it and rephrase it over and over again, even though it was only the length of a haiku.
Yeah, that's why I
right.
think they should burn it all down.
So the question is,
rules
what
now.
what is that character length that is the perfect length?
Yeah.
So you have to work for it, but you also care enough that you can actually express a coherent thought in it.
Well, why not 140 then?
I don't know. I mean, exactly. 140 sounds great. The new thing, though, is that, or what has been the case, is that Twitter has allowed, of course, people to embed images, and it's changed their API so that when you put an image in or a link, it will format it in a certain way. Like you could upload 4 images, I think, in a Twitter post, and it will condense that, and they'll host the images, and it'll only take away 23 characters of your 140. Now, maybe 23 was too much, because I think we've all felt that putting an image in, losing 23 characters out of 140, that's a measurable percentage where you feel like you cannot get as full a thought as you could out into the Twitterverse. So if Bloomberg's report is true, they will take that away, and soon you'll be able to add image and links willy-nilly while still having a full 140 character
They
count.
won't allow you to add unlimited number of links, I hope, right? That wouldn't make sense at all.
I completely agree.
I could understand one link for free. In fact, I would like to see a link section of the tweet that doesn't have to be embedded into the post. Something at the bottom, kind of like what they do with the thumbnails for images.
Right.
I'm just going to take pictures of me writing and just create, self-publish a novel that way.
0 character tweets, just images.
Just full-on images, and you can just read the text.
Well, the full images are cropped, and that's another thing they've done, and the people have used to, have manipulated, right, how much Twitter, the website, crops the image in the preview. They've used that to run polls, where people can click it and it expands.
But then it moves. Like the focus of the image can change.
That's why it's a skill. That's why there's these crafty social media marketers have found ways to maximize it, depending on what's the most popular Twitter app and how do they show preview images. Like the experience is different across different apps. Regardless, I think the most important point is that this is not really a feature to benefit the users. I mean, while users will find some convenience, this is a feature really to service the marketers.
What is the 140?
The images not requiring 23 characters.
You don't think so?
I
to
think
sell
it is
more ads?
Totally for marketers who want to put more links and text without any consequence.
I don't know if I'm just starry-eyed or you're cynical, but I think this benefits everybody. I would, because I have.
I think it benefits everyone.
Yeah.
You and I will absolutely benefit from it, but I think it benefits the marketers more.
Okay.
And it was probably my assumption is that it was designed, if it comes out, that it was designed with those people in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter's has had a problem of just stagnation growth. We think of Twitter as a startup because it's still kind of figuring out its business model. It's a 10-year-old company.
Yeah.
Twitter it's a dinosaur.
And you can tell they have floated the idea of removing the 140 character limit altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And the backlash from that kept them in line. But the fact that they're considering that tells you that they have stagnated and they're looking for a way to expand.
You think
their
there's a
market.
sign of desperation?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they even though the hashtag and they've had success in mainstream audiences getting celebrities and definitely tech journalists to use the service, I think as a mainstream service, it is nowhere near as successful as Facebook or YouTube.
Nope.
Are your parents on Twitter?
No, but they're on Facebook.
Mine actually are, which surprises me. But I love Twitter. I'm sorry in some senses that they are a public company because it means they have a mandate to try to expand their business. Because I kind of wish I like where they are. I think there's nothing wrong with it. If they're making a little money, that's great. Let's just keep it afloat.
Hey, it was on Twitter this week that a lot of people might have decided that to buy Doom, the game, because without the Twitter reviews, hot takes, there would have been no day one real coverage. Doom came out this week, or last week, I guess, late last week. Doom. There's not Doom 4, not Doom 3. It's just called Doom, made by id Software, published by Bethesda, after in development for so long with no early review copies. Now,
that's usually a bad sign.
That's usually a very bad sign. And we don't know, of course, why they decided not to send out review copies.
They said it was
because of the open beta.
Their official company line was that the multiplayer servers weren't online yet. And they felt that was half the game, and they wanted everyone to experience the full game for a review. So that's why they didn't let
That's so funny because the reception so far, the very, very positive, at least community reception so far, has been more toward the single player.
Oh, so calling back the original Doom then.
I really like the single player game of Doom. There was a very negative reaction from the community from the open beta. They had, and I think they did even remove it from Steam to delete all the negative reviews and comments. And not getting early review coverage and that kind of build up maybe did affect their day one sales. I don't know if the hot takes, because if you push out the review and reviewers and journalists and game journalists are rushing to put their review in progress reports, their day one reports. Those are not full reviews. Those are your first 4 hours. And there was a video I think Polygon put out day one showing the first 30 minutes or so of Doom, and it was clearly played with someone on a gamepad who had not a lot of experience with first-person shooters. So it doesn't necessarily, it's a risk on the publisher's perspective to put the game out because they don't know how it'll be received. But if they're confident in that first hour experience, then everyone rushing to put their hot takes online, we're going to give it a very positive review, and that's what they did. And so, I've only played it for about 2 hours, and I've been enjoying it a lot.
I'm watching some gameplay right now. It's brutal.
Yeah, so I think the really fun thing they did to break up the gameplay in single player is built-in execution moves. Have you playing it, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm probably as far as you are, maybe a little farther. I think that the way that they get you to do the execution moves is clever game design because it's the only way to restore your health.
Yes, and get additional ammo.
Oh.
And you do it in clever ways. Like you approach the enemies, so you can stun enemies if you take them down to a certain percentage point. Then they shimmer, and then you run up to them, press the F key or whatever activation key, and it runs through an animation. It doesn't kill time. So you do the animation, and other enemies are still coming at you and shooting at you, which I think was a really smart thing to do as well.
So you're not invulnerable while you're doing those?
No, you can definitely get killed while you do it.
And then there's the chainsaw, which
I haven't gotten yet.
Okay. Well, that's like the same thing, but instead of health, you get ammo. But it uses gasoline, so that's another resource that you have to gather.
Okay.
And then there's the whole weapon upgrade system.
Yeah. I like that. I like all that stuff, but I also really appreciate the simplicity of it just being like
Me too.
Doom. You're looking for keys, riding elevators, upgrading armor, and level design is beautiful, but it's not an open world game. It's not complex. You're going from point A to point B and following your navigation points.
Yeah, it's
shooting enemies.
It's fun to play like a 60 hertz game with such an amazing looking engine too, because I'm spinning the mouse around and it's giving me those interesting John Carmack-y blur effects. And the world is so insanely detailed now, and it's the kind of thing that you used in order to get that kind of performance. You couldn't have that kind of detail. Nowadays, you can have the best of both worlds.
Guys, there's a spider on my microphone climbing up its web.
It's time to move.
Holy crap!
This is your origin story, right? Happening in real time.
Should I choose to get bitten? Can you guys see it?
With great bites come great responsibility, Norm.
It's now on the mic cable.
Yeah. Let's see how this progresses.
I'm just going to let it play out. We have a new podcaster.
Maybe
he's on the mic.
He has something to
hot
say.
on the mic.
He's dropping down.
Oh,
there's another one. There's a whole family.
Oh, there's a family. That's how adorable.
this is terrifying.
Are you scared of spiders?
Come on, man.
There are two of them. That's a bad sign.
You're not going to be in the office much longer.
You can't
This is also very true.
move all their nests around and expect them not to come out.
Maybe the spiders have been here all along.
That's what I'm saying.
And because now
I
that
think
we
this-
have the natural light, we're finally seeing it.
I think this is a good time to remind listeners about the tested garage sale happening. Spider infested.
The Sunday of Memorial Day. Wow, yeah, that one's walking up there. There's another one that's already down, I believe, on the floor. It's very, very disconcerting. I'm going to kill it with my Soylent bottle.
Oh,
No.
Spiders are good.
All right. Well, Doom might be very positively received in the gaming community.
I hear a
but
segue.
something that is not falling into place, the Tetris movie.
What is this? You guys mentioned this before the show. I know nothing about
So it was announced this week that there is a studio investing now, I want to say $80 million in a live-action Tetris movie.
this. Who's the protagonist?
I don't know. They made a movie called
I
Pixels.
think it's Vertical 4 Blocks is the protagonist. It's pretty clear. I don't know if you played a lot of Tetris, but that's certainly.
Is this like Fred Savage goes to the Tetris World Championships kind of thing?
I have no idea, but there's a quote from the Ars article about it that says the film could be a basis for a trilogy. What?
Oh my gosh.
Tetris 3, no more lines. I don't know, what is this?
It's a trilogy.
It sounds like an
It's a
April Fool's joke.
trilogy. $80 million in funding. There's no way. What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, but we've seen Battleship, which was terrible. Did you guys see that movie?
No.
Nope.
Wasn't there an asteroid?
Aliens were involved. No, it wasn't Asteroids. It was called
It was
Pixels, that
Pixels.
Adam Sandler one based
Oh,
on that short. Like,
God.
that already had your Tetris.
Did anybody see that?
No.
I didn't see that either. My son really
No.
wanted to see that. I wouldn't let him.
good father.
I think this is going to
That's the
go
right
the
thing to
way
do.
there was an old Spy Hunter movie that was supposed to come out, and it just got stuck in development forever.
Oh, see, now there's a good movie.
It was starring The Rock.
Really?
Yeah.
See-
Wow.
No, see, let's move forward with that one.
So,
The Tetris movie makes everything else seem so much better.
we might not be enthusiastic about the Tetris movie. What do you think about another Mario movie? Would you be excited to see that?
I wasn't excited the first time. when it
Well,
came out.
I was super excited.
Really?
I read in Nintendo Power, and everything Nintendo Power wrote was gospel.
So you went to see it?
I rented the VHS because I was young back then, and
This is with Joe Pesci, right?
no, Bob Hopkins.
Oh, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins.
R.I.P.
Bob Hoskins. Yeah, the guy from
Dennis Hopper, R.I.P. Bob Hopkins played Mario.
Right.
So
The guy from Home Alone.
no, that's Joe Pesci.
That is Joe Pesci?
Yeah, Home Alone is Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern. Super Mario Brothers movie is Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo. That movie is weird. Do you remember the movie?
Oh, yeah, right.
I never saw it.
Okay, so let me tell you this. Okay, you've played Mario, right?
Yeah,
of
I've
course,
played
right?
Mario.
It's about a plumber and his brother, right? A shorter one and a
Who is
taller one.
also a plumber. Yeah.
Right. In the movie, okay, here's the premise of the 1993, I believe, Super Mario Brothers movie. In the movie, the dinosaurs were killed off by the asteroids as they were, in history.
You got me so
But
far.
the shockwave of the asteroid colliding with Earth actually created an alternate reality, and a dinosaur survived in there and evolved over 30 million years. And it's the dinosaurs that are the Koopas, which make no sense. I guess
And Bowser.
and Bowser, the Koopa family.
Is he a Koopa?
Bowser's King Koopa.
I didn't. Sorry.
The king of the Koopas.
Gosh.
So it's an alternate reality where the dinosaurs evolved and they're very human-like. In fact, they look just like humans. But they are going to invade Earth through the plumbing system. And the Mario Brothers, now get this,
Uh-huh.
the Mario Brothers have full names. Guess what the full names of the Mario Brothers are?
Mario.
Yes.
Is it
Mario and Luigi Mario.
That was purely a guess.
Wow.
Now, that makes no sense why someone would be named Mario. And that whole bit, their names, they were named Mario and Luigi Mario for the sake of a who's on first bit.
Oh,
Like, what's your name, Mario? No, I'm a Mario too. Well, you're Luigi. No, yeah, terrible. They get sucked in, they're plumbers, they get sucked in through the pipes to the Koopa world where dinosaurs who look like humans, evolved dinosaurs, rule the land and are struggling to survive. King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, R.I.P., has now rules the land, captured Daisy, a princess who looks just like a human, also has a Yoshi, which looks like a velociraptor.
sure. I want to hear about Toad.
Now, Toad is a punk artist on the streets, and he turns. So here's the big plot conceit. King Koopa has developed a weapon that can de-evolutionize his subjects. He shoots his subjects, and they turn back into dinosaurs.
Sure.
And so he shoots his kids, and they get dinosaur heads with
Even though
normal,
we're not
full-size bodies. Even though we're not involved in dinosaurs, that's
Sure.
absolutely
Sure.
right. At some point, Mario and Luigi get leg augmentation boots
Yeah.
that give them super jumping.
It's on the cover. Yeah.
Yep. And then here's the weirdest thing. So what's missing from the Mario story? You got pipes, you got Mario, you got Luigi, you got the princess, you got Yoshi, you got Bowser.
Gold coins.
No gold coins, but
How-
what's another staple of
Mushrooms?
Mario? Mushrooms, right? Mushrooms. So how do you incorporate mushrooms into the Super Mario Brothers movie?
They wake up from a psychedelic trip, and this was all in their
No,
dream.
that would make so much more sense. Here's the other thing. The previous king, Daisy's a princess, right? Daisy's a princess. She's captured by Bowser. Bowser is the illegitimate king. It's like Game of Thrones, but in Mario's. The original, the one true king of the Mushroom Kingdom, as opposed to the Koopa Kingdom, is Daisy's father, who is a fungus. A living fungus. who lives through the city, lives in the pipes, is a goop of fungus, and throughout the movie helps Mario and Luigi by giving them power-ups. The fungus is alive.
I'm actually going to say that is not the weirdest thing, because the largest living organism on this planet is actually a fungus.
Well, maybe someone did their research.
Yeah. Clearly.
Somehow I doubt it.
Well,
but
that sounds like a genius script. I don't know why it didn't do well.
I think it was. I don't think it could not do somewhat well because it was called the Super Mario Brothers movie, and as an 8-year-old, just being fascinated with the idea of watching Super Mario Brothers in theaters or at least on TV in live action was enough to get me a ticket. No, one's wearing red, one's wearing green.
There was a $48 million budget, and it made $20 million back.
Yeah, so it was not a moneymaker.
Should have gotten Joe Pesci.
But anyway, Nintendo president has now said the company's in talks with a bunch of movie production houses to make Nintendo branded films in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, it won't be like the Super Mario Brothers movie of the 90s because they'll have full control and most likely it will be animated. So think Angry Birds. If they can make an Angry Birds movie, are kids excited about that? You're the one with your pulse on the kid interest.
So my kid wants to go, and I just said no.
That's what I'm saying, man. That looks horrible.
It looks so terrible.
Doesn't it also feel like 3 years too late or 2 years too late? Wasn't Angry Birds a big thing?
I don't know.
Years ago?
What do you think? You're saying I would have been excited 2 years ago?
No, at least the culture in general. Maybe that's when it got greenlit.
Yes.
I can't wait for the 2019 Candy Crush movie to come out then.
We got Finding Dory coming out next month. Come
Yeah.
on. You can't compete with that.
I really hope. I mean, this will be a really sad state of affairs if the Angry Birds movie made more money than Finding Dory.
Well, they only have so many animated movies a year. Maybe Angry Birds is going to be up for an Oscar.
Oh my God!
Don't say that. How dare you?
I would rather take my kid to go see Zootopia again, which was pretty good.
I still haven't seen it. I really want to see it.
It was pretty good. So I feel like there's, probably 4 or 5
little preachy.
Good. Yeah, a little preachy. 4 or 5 good animated movies a year.
Hey, there's gonna be another,
and we're in that lull in between.
They've already booked the date for Transformers 6, and Transformers 5 isn't even in production yet.
Somehow I missed 2 through 5.
They have a new name. They have a name for 5. Mark Wahlberg's back. I think it's called the Knights of Cybertron or something. I don't know. It's something like that.
Okay.
And when are they just going to give it the realistic name? Transformers: Things Moving Too Fast on the screen.
It's still Michael Bay. It's his moneymaker. And but they might move this next Transformer movie more off Earth. So I think that would be at least something interesting.
I just looked. Rotten Tomatoes says Angry Birds is at 55%. That's
too high.
Nearly where I thought it would be.
When their primary marketing campaign has been at the NBA playoffs and getting Larry Bird to do a joke about birds, that's desperation and complete mismanagement of the marketing. Who is that supposed to convince to watch the Angry Bird movie? I don't know. Yeah,
man. Casual cell phone people with kids.
Oh boy. All right, let's get out of our pop culture section because there's a lot of tech news. Well, we had an extended pop culture segment because we're waiting for news to break from an event going on right now.
I'm paying attention to the live stream as we're going.
You've been following it for the past 20 minutes or so while we've been recording. We're recording on Wednesday morning, if you hadn't noticed. Google I.O. is going on, the annual big Google Developer Conference. So as of right now, about 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, what's been happening at Google I.O.? Has the keynote even started?
Yeah, well, the keynotes are going. So there's 3 main things that have come out so far. So first is that they're upping the complexity and level of the Google Voice feature, the search and AI components of that. So we were worried, and we've talked about this a lot, that they're moving away from Google Now, but it seems like they're upping the ante in voice. And they coupled that with a big announcement that I'm actually really excited about, Google Home, which is the Alexa competitor.
Yeah, okay.
The device.
Heard rumors about that.
Holy crap.
Good.
Yeah, it looks like an Airwick air freshener.
Oh,
but
there's an image?
There is an image out already. But it has a speaker in it. It's a little bit smaller than the original Echo, but they already announced third-party integrations with Uber and Pandora and a number of other services. Even Ticketmaster was the one that struck me as weird on there. But Instacart and Grubhub, so you can order food from it. And it says that they're investing a lot in it understanding complex questions.
Ooh. Yeah, dude.
So it's going to run the new version of Google Now, which is their digital assistant. Google Assistant is what it's called. When is this available? Have they announced any pricing or availability?
They just said later this year is all I've seen.
Are you going to get one?
Totally.
100%, man. Woo.
Okay, so what's the reason? What's the upsell over Alexa?
I trust Google traffic directions more. So here's a question:
You're using this for traffic directions?
Or I use Alexa. I use Google Now for traffic in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Google, what's the traffic like to the office?
This is why I'm doing it. Android phone.
Yep.
Android Watch, Gmail, my primary source of email. So it's in Google's information about me is much more rich than Amazon, which just knows like a portion of my spending habits and shopping habits. So what they can do with that seems potentially more powerful.
But the Echo does tap into your calendar now, so they have that covered. They don't do email. So
Yeah.
would you expect to use this for any email functionality?
You know what I want to? No, I don't think I'm going to be like sending emails through like a voice interface on this hub. But all the things that Google Now came up with, like, hey, Kishore, you should leave now to get to the Tested podcast on time. That kind of.
Oh, that's something Echo doesn't do.
Yeah.
Are you expecting this to interrupt you and alert you to
I'm
things?
hoping the assistant goes towards prediction.
Maybe with opt-in for,
Right.
or for, I mean, it looks like its only mode of feedback is audio. It is still a speaker. Like they decided not to put a screen on this one.
No, and are we even there yet on screens for
Why not?
something
Google
like that?
now has the screen response. It's a technology built in.
Well, but it is a phone company. It's the Android company, so they could very easily tap into that whole ecosystem. So everyone with an Android phone could potentially have a screen associated with this device.
Do you care that it ties into Nest and all of that suite of devices? You have Nest.
Do I care whether it does or not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing. Like the Echo has had so long to mature and add these features over time. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to do at launch. To be honest with you, since enabling Nest Control, I've never used it. That's me.
The other thing they just announced, and they're still going in through the announcement as we're talking right now, is they announced a new messaging app called Allo. Allo, allo, allo.
AELLO?
ALLO.
Wow.
That's what it is? It's the British hello?
I don't know if they pronounce it that way.
Well,
but
back
that's
to Google Home. So Google Home, because Google, I mean, do you think they'll allow other people to make hardware for this and tap into the service?
Make hardware.
Yeah, I would expect so.
Because if they define like the Nexus model, think about like Android and the Nexus model. If Alexa right now, only Amazon can make Alexa devices, and I think there was an Alexa app that they opened. Like you can buy on the iOS store an app that taps in Alexa, but Amazon doesn't make it. But there's no third-party Alexa hardware now. And of course, for Apple, for Siri, there's only first party. They never allow third party.
Well, to be clear, though, there's a very open SDK for Alexa, so anybody can make apps that tap in and use that platform.
That's good, but no one has decided to make. I mean, hardware is
Nobody
also
can make the hardware.
expensive,
That's right.
and to make.
I just saw another feature that Home has. It ties into Chromecast, so you can control certain screen behavior
Right.
from it. That is kind of cool.
That is cool.
Because that basically takes away all of the Siri integration with Apple TV,
Well, but
done it in a much more
Done in an always-on fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the interesting part.
Yeah. It also says that Google Home is designed to work with multiple devices in multiple rooms, so they want you to have more than one.
Oh yeah.
Which is an important thing because right now, if you have multiple Echoes, like the small Echo, the Dot, and the full Echo, they don't work well together. I had to assign different key names to them.
They missed an opportunity with that. I'm sure they were working on a mesh thing where it would recognize which one should activate when it hears you and which one doesn't.
Right.
My mom thought that's how it worked.
Yeah.
So clearly that needs to happen.
I mean, Siri doesn't work that way either. If you have two iPhones in the house, I mean, but they don't know if they're connected. Like that should be something that Apple maybe opts in. If you and your significant other have iPhones and you activate Siri, both phones don't respond.
Right. They need to be aware of each other.
Right, and some kind of near field thing. And that could also tap into AirPlay, or what's the sharing thing. Google Home, I hope it's like their Nexus device. I hope it's their optimized model. Like this is what they hope the minimum spec is, and then allow people to take it and then run with it. We assume that Google will have good speakers in there, but some people might not want good speakers in this device. Like the trade-offs. I would rather have a good microphone. Alexa works great not because it's the best Bluetooth speaker, but because it has the best microphone of any of these devices so far, better than the microphone on my phone for Siri.
Is the Dot as good?
Dot is just as good.
The microphone.
Yes.
Okay.
It has activated itself though.
Oh, like when people say keywords on videos
songs.
you're watching, yeah.
When it's playing a song itself, and the song has like for Hamilton the musical, when Eliza
Alexander.
says Alexander, the song stops and it sees the ring and looks around. The light looks around.
That's great.
Where's it coming from?
That's like a dog chasing its tail.
Well, I said that's
like
on
a
Twitter.
baby
It's
farting
that's
itself awake.
exactly what I said on Twitter. Like the baby like farting and waking itself awake. Like what happened? What went on? It is that AI equivalent. Like needs to be self-aware. So
This messaging thing with Allo, like just to switch gears a little bit, it seems to be tying a lot of different services into messaging. So like YouTube can embed in messaging. It doesn't seem like a huge iteration for it, though. I guess maybe I don't live inside of my chat-based apps, but it seems like they're trying to borrow a little bit from other worlds around this, but no third-party integration with iMessage.
interesting.
Well, that's probably not up to Google.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, that's the feature that people are going to look for wide adoption of this, right?
So there is no open developer API for the assistant just yet. And I think it's a smart thing to do. I think that when Home comes out, I think a lot of reviewers, a lot of hot takes will be that, it can't do as much as Alexa. Just as when Alexa came out, the hot take was, don't buy Echo because it can't do as much as Siri can or Google Now can. I think it's better to do fewer things well and then build on top of that and refine that as opposed to launching with everything at once and trying to find parity across the competitors.
It's cool, though. They have the benefit of learning from Amazon's experience and using their product for so long. So.
Well, experience number one, have a device.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This is not bad. This is our take on the first 45 minutes of the keynote.
Is there anything else?
Revisit.
Yeah, let's come back to the beginning.
They're still talking
the
about chat right now.
The
about
thing,
the messaging.
this is like this device, as I've always said about Echo, it's the closest to the Star Trek computer, and I've always thought Google would be the one to make the Star Trek computer. So here we go. This could be the real beginning.
Now, what's interesting is that we never assume, because in the Star Trek world, we always use like these science fiction metaphors, what the writers put in as conveniences for storytelling, as ways to, as technologies to aspire to for human-computer interaction. But what we're finding out is that the reality is much more complex than that. You know, the way we're going to talk to computers, and it might even be the case that we're not going to talk to one computer. In Star Trek, there was only one Star Trek computer. It was the mainframe that you talk to. But in reality, as we do right now, we have multiple AIs to talk to across all these big companies. So it could be very well if Apple releases a Siri home device, if Google now the Google Home becomes successful and Echo becomes successful, it's not impossible to imagine a use case where you would have different devices in your home for your different needs. It doesn't have to be one AI fits all.
Until they become self-aware and destroy one another.
If they became self-aware, the user-facing side would be the last to know.
That's what I'm saying. They would fight each other.
Like very much from Ultron, with Jarvis and Ultron fighting each other a little bit. I will say though, if they manage to mesh these together well, which is what Echo hasn't quite done yet,
mesh the home units.
Yeah, it's going to be such a leap forward. It's going to be such a leap forward. I'm so excited for this.
All right. So we'll come back later on the show with more Google I/O updates. It's live for us, not live for you. So you'll have already known, and we'll see what we catch. Just also released this week, at least the review embargo, is Nvidia's 1080, GeForce 1080 reviews. And we have a review also up on Tested. Lloyd Case benchmarked the card for us on a bunch of settings, DX11, DX12, 4K resolution, a bunch of games. And as we anticipated, this card is incredibly fast. Now, it doesn't have as much RAM as the Titan X card, and the Titan X was the high end of the Maxwells. They really pushed that to its limit. So
isn't that like $1,000 card?
It is. It is $1,050. So we can, and you can kind of roadmap knowing what the GeForce 1080 is on Pascal. You know what the 1060 might look like, what the 1070 is already. The specs for that are out, but their version of a Titan X, a year later or 2 years, a year and a half later, what that might be. But for $600, you're getting a card that's as fast as the Titan X, faster than the Titan X, and in VR, it's actually up to twice as fast, and what they said 3 times as efficient. And we explained this a little bit last week for VR. with the SMP feature, right? Simultaneous multi-projection. And Jeremy, you said that you were most excited about simultaneous multi-projection because of its applications for multi-monitor setups.
Well, I have two monitors, but I think for people who are gaming with three, it's going to make a lot of sense.
Well, even with two setups, it's going to be useful for in 3D, not for desktop.
Yes, but I don't use it for that because I'll have a seam down the middle. That's why I'm saying it makes more practical sense with three because you got a nice open view in the middle.
Right.
But the idea is it turns your monitors that might be curved on the edges, like one monitor perpendicular to your eyes in front and then two at an angle on either side of it. It'll make those into more of a window into a 3D space rather than wrapping around you.
Yeah, so I think the new language that people, and they're trying to get consumers to understand is the idea of a projection, which we have never used that terminology when describing how video cards render and output to displays. A projection is just a display, is every display that needs to be rendered. And it, surprisingly, or maybe a surprise to some people, in previous setups, if you want the graphics card to render, if you have three monitors right now, or in previous generations, the graphics card assumes it's one wide window, right? It's rendering one projection that you physically bend because you have three monitors. In previous setups, you could actually get that multi-projection, but you would need multiple video cards or need the video card to re-render and go through the pipeline again. So adding the SMP functionality, simultaneous multi-projection, means that they've built some logic into the board that can, in the pipeline after, I think, before the shaders and after the geometry is done, they can warp it for your configuration, for known configurations. So there will need to be a configuration element to it to let your system know how you have your monitors set up.
Right.
Which no reviewer has talked about. I don't think anyone's been able to demonstrate that yet. It's just a feature. Now, SMP itself, it's not just like a toggle. It's not just like you're going to have it. Games will need to support it. It's not just on the hardware level. There will need to be developer APIs to actually support it. And also, the spec is that it's 16 projections on Pascal, which means there's room to improve. Now, 16 might sound a lot because you don't have 16 monitors. But the 16 projections, when you apply it to something like VR, actually you're approaching that already. They're using SMP to actually warp each lens. So a VR headset or any stereo headset, you have two displays, and multi-projection allows you to render out two displays immediately without having to render from different viewpoints because it's in the logic.
For free.
Right. But they're also within each viewport for each eye, the left and right eye. They're not just cropping the edges to look like the lens. They're bending the images inward.
They split it into 4 quadrants
It's
per
like
eye.
origami.
Yeah.
Like the origami. And so each of those quadrants for the lens is a projection, which is why the more projections you can do as you escalate from 16 to 32 to 64, whatever the next gen architectures are going to be, that will just allow in VR for you to optimize how you fold the images to look more like the lens shape.
That's a good point.
Which optimizes the efficiencies, so you're not rendering pixels that you wouldn't otherwise need to render. Now there are going to be some natural benefits or limitations to that. You can only scale so much. Like at some point, maybe 16 projections per eye as opposed to 4 is going to be the limit. Maybe 4 is the most practical limit as opposed to adding more hardware in. But it's really interesting that they've designed on that level these accommodations for VR.
And presumably it's all compatible with existing lenses, so people don't have to change their cups or anything like that.
Yeah. And just like, they have to work with the system needs to know the lens structure and the distance apart. Like all these things have to be known by, it's not going to be user, for VR, definitely not user calibratable.
Right.
We also got a first glimpse at Ansel, the screenshot taking application, which we talked about last week, which was announced with a 1080.
And I was mistaken last week when I said there weren't images available. There was one word that was a link to images that you could download full stereo panoramas. And I tried them out.
Yep.
Have you tried them?
I have not tried them out yet.
I was less than impressed because for whatever reason, they chose to take these stereo images from a position that didn't result in a whole lot of parallax.
No near field.
No near field stuff at all. It was all things in the distance, and I struggled to see if there was actually any difference between the left and right eye at all. So I would love to see a proper demonstration of it.
Better in-game photographer.
Well, you would think NVIDIA would have taken shots that showed it off. I wonder if there's a reason why they didn't show any near field stuff.
Well, I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on Ansel. And
Yeah.
in the press event that the reviewers went to, they got some hands-on time. They couldn't take screenshots or take screenshots with them, but there were some photos of the UI. It looks very Spartan. Sliders on the left side for how much you want to render, oversample, field of view, and they tried things like the witness, which I thought would be perfect for taking things. I mean, developers are also going to be have to be okay with gamers seeing the cracks of their games and seeing, maybe portraying their games maybe not in the best light. I'm sure Ubisoft was not happy that the bug for Assassin's Creed showed all those like warped faces and those like weird things. Like that's a bug. That's clearly a bug. But there are unintended things that aren't bugs that are just in game design that people are going to be able to capture if they're able to roam freely and clip through the game.
Games are an illusion that the world is complete, but if you step up a foot higher than the character is naturally supposed to be able to go, you're going to be able to see behind things that have no textures, see the edge of the world, see houses that are only half built.
PC gaming.
Gaming.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I think what some people were talking about being most impressed by is even though a lot of these AAA games aren't designed for VR, when you're in Ansel and you take that stereo image, if you take a really good one, then you can, when you view it in a headset, you are experiencing that game world in VR scale, 1-to-1 scale, even if it's just a static stereo image. And that's impressive. That's a different way to experience the game content, even if you're not interacting with it.
It's certainly going to be a great tool for people who work at publications. I mean, this is going to be a godsend.
Oh, yeah. I think that's all we have to talk about NVIDIA. I don't have a card yet. Lloyd has our card, but we will hope to build a new system with a 1070 and a 1080 to give you some VR benchmarks.
So, I have a question. When was the last time you felt so strongly about a video card? Because people are going really nuts about Pascal, saying twice as powerful as the last generation. And I feel like, as the cynic in me wants to say, they say that every year. But really, how long has it been since we had this kind of leap?
I mean, for people who follow video cards and the people who do, NVIDIA's main target audience, they have felt the ebbs and flows and been burned. I mean, remember, there was no GeForce 800 series. They went from 700 to 900. And the 900 series was a big jump because it was Maxwell. And 700 series, pretty crappy, just like a souped-up 600 series. So I think 600 series has been great. 800 series, kind of like Star Trek movies. the 1000 series has been great. I mean, the history of NVIDIA cards, the 4800 Ti, 4200 Ti, I want to say, way back in 2002, like, it's people feel connected to these things. Like their sense memory of their PC upgrade life, right, has been. I mean, there's a whole history to it, right? Yes, they do tout new features, but you can tell when on stage that they're talking more about features. And when tessellation was a big thing, it was a feature set, but it wasn't performance. People, I think, want to go for performance. We've reached a point where new features aren't as, the things that look pretty on screen aren't as impressive as getting more frames. Because monitor technology, we've also experienced that bump. And 1440p monitors are common, cheap, $300. Many people have 4K monitors, and with these cards, you can finally, if you have something like G-Sync, you can play at 40 FPS and it looks like 60, and with everything maxed out at 4K, which is incredible. Hey, I turned off my Microsoft iOS keyboard. I really didn't like it. I was using it for a little bit. Microsoft.
Is this the curved one?
The one that you can use as a curve sometimes for one-handed typing, which I rarely ended up using, even with the big phone on the 6S Plus. But I fully have now switched over to Google's iOS keyboard. Have you seen this?
No.
It just came out on iOS like last week?
Yeah, it came out last week. It's not on Android. It is easily the best keyboard on iOS for one simple reason. They added Google Search built into the keyboard.
What? Where does the search results come
So you should try it out. I can give you a quick demo, see if I can explain it both for people who are just listening, but also for you guys here. If you pull up your keyboard, which I got to switch over from emojis now.
It's called Gboard.
Gboard. Oh, come on. I apologize. There's a tiny top on the top left corner, a tiny icon, which is the Google search icon. So it looks like a lot like the iOS keyboard. They have used a slightly different font. The return button's a different place. But the top left, a G button, right? So for text messaging, if I click that G button, it becomes a Google search window.
That's cool.
It
So
pops
like
up.
a third of your window has now become a Google search
It
box.
pops up, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a tiny version of the Google search. So if I want to share with you a link, an image, a GIF, if I want to share with Jeremy, for example, puppies, I can type puppies in, search, and it'll give me 3 types of search results. It'll give me video, like a formatted version of Google search. It'll give me images, or it'll give me GIFs. So I can click the GIF
Little
right
tabs
there.
at the bottom of the screen.
Little tabs. I'll click the GIF,
Yep.
and then it'll automatically have copied it. I can just paste and send.
I expect this every Wednesday now.
A puppy GIF?
Yeah,
Because it's so convenient.
because it's so easy.
It makes it, and I think, images, it's perfect for sending images. If you have an image in mind, you don't need to open Chrome, search it, download it, and send it. It's now in your keyboard,
Oh, and it does support swipe.
and it supports swipe.
Oh, that's great. Does it support? It can't support voice, does it?
I don't think it has the voice button built in.
I wouldn't think Apple would allow that.
Yeah. No, it does
So
not
this is
have
an
voice built in.
extension of the Google Now on tap that Android phones have. This is a great integration. Wow.
Yeah,
And so it's been great so far.
It's been great so far. It's not out on Android yet. And they've said, when they released it, they said privacy is number one concern. Everyone's going to assume that they're taking data, but they don't take search data and typing data. Oh, they take search data, but they don't take typing data. So what you type won't be sent to them. What you search, of course, it's just Google search.
It's funny when they release things on iOS first, isn't it? They have 2 independent teams internally, and I guess they're kind of...
Give them another 15 minutes because they're talking about Android N right now. So let's see.
So maybe it's just going to be built in Android N.
Yeah.
What does N stand for? Is it
They
design?
actually are allowing people to help them name it this time.
How many desserts are there that start with N?
Nougat.
That's the only one. It's the only one.
Necco wafer, baby.
There you go.
No, literally, like on Android.com, there's a page that you can help them name Android N.
I think it's going to end up being nougat.
I think it's going to be
Nougat.
naming Nick McName face.
Blah, blah.
That was very Michael Scott.
Hey, what's up with Netflix?
Netflix is now helping you test how fast your internet connection is. They announced a new site called fast.com.
Wow, that's a domain.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's
that
a
has
domain.
been a couple
They have the money.
doubloons there. So you can test your speed just like speed test.
This is just like Google, to get people seeing ads and using internet, doing services like fiber. Netflix wants people to get faster internet because
Yeah.
it helps their service. And
Exactly
so
right.
they want people to be disappointed with their service and not blame Netflix
Right.
and blame their service provider by using a service like
It's a
fast.com.
pure political play.
Absolutely. What a domain. Fast.com. What do you think fast.com, if Netflix had not bought it, what does Internet Archive say was on fast.com before Netflix bought it? Kishore, are you on it?
I'm going to Internet
You're on it
Archive
right now. Well, domain squatting, of course, a huge thing. And the other huge thing is username squatting. I think the long play for me, how you get the long play for buying an Amazon package and then pre-ordering something and it arrives one morning and you're very surprised and you're like, oh, I'm very pleasantly surprised. Thank you. High five past me for thinking of pre-purchasing this item. Jeremy, did you pre-order that Atari art book?
No.
You didn't pre-order the Art of Atari art book?
No, that sounds good.
You should pre-order that.
I got the arcade one.
Future you, is that wait, you got the arcade one that just
Yeah, that just shipped.
shipped. Maybe that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay. It's not all Atari.
It's a new book, right? All the art of games
Yeah,
and box covers and like that.
It's marquees mostly.
Wait, no, I think we're talking about different
No,
things.
sounds like it. Sorry, I'm just installing my Google keyboard.
The other thing I love giving a high five to Pass Me for is Yeah, you gotta get this book, Jeremy. It's The Art of Atari. Hardcover book, 40 years of iconic Atari video game art. I don't know why you didn't know about this. But the other thing I love high-fiving past me for is username squatting. When a new service comes out, and I admit I'm not as fast in the draw on this in my old age as I was back in my 20s, but things like I got norman.tumblr.com, and I didn't know I had it, and then, bam,
Gone.
turns out, no. I got it, and then when Tumblr became relevant, I'm like, oh, I wonder who has Norman.tumblr. Oh, I do. Awesome. High five past me. That happens all the time. Yep. That's the sound of high-fiving the past through the wormhole.
I know you're mid-story, but just as a tangent, I will high-five my past me for ordering the book I'm talking about called Artcade, which was a Kickstarter. And it arrived, and then it arrived again a week later because past me ordered it twice on 2 different occasions.
I may buy that book from you, the second copy.
Hey, great, it's yours.
But Art of Atari, it's a new book. I think you're gonna. It comes out in October, but the preview pages look incredible. The cover looks great. I'm gonna show you the cover right here, Jeremy.
Yeah, I found it. I love their old box art. Absolutely.
So the other thing that people high-five themselves for, gamer tags, usernames, and Microsoft. But if you don't use your gamer tag, it might go away. Microsoft's giving back 1 million unused gamer tags, which they say, they haven't said which ones are available yet. You might still need to search. They include pronouns.
Oh, so you could be
and names. I don't know.
So you just have to search once they go
You gotta search.
available?
Yeah.
Interesting. And how are they deciding which ones go back and which ones, how are they considered unused?
I think dormant, so maybe if you...
For how long?
I don't know. I mean, that was AOL's racket for a long time. The Instant Messenger name. If you paid for AOL, because Instant Messenger was free if you just signed up for an account, AIM, right? Which I don't even know how many people still use. But if you paid for an AOL.com account, that at AOL name was your AIM name. But if you stopped paying for it, you would lose it. So May 18th, which is, it's for us today. Yeah, Major Nelson says that, let's see, let me read exactly. I gotta load the page. How to get one. You can search it. 11 a.m. It's happening. Oh, it just happened. 1 million gamer tags to valued Xbox Live Gold customers with active subscriptions, and you need to have at least 1 year of cumulative Xbox Live tenure. So you can't just subscribe to Gold now and claim an old gamer tag. You need to
like
already
a smart move.
do it. But you can change it one time for free, but additional changes cost extra. Wow, 1 million gamer tags. Okay, so these are accounts abandoned from the original Xbox era, and the previous time they released these was 2011. The accounts never migrated to Xbox 360, and so inactive since original Xbox.
Do you think they give Microsoft employees a week heads up on these and give them first choice dibs?
No, absolutely not.
I bet they do. I bet Major Nelson, if he wanted to, which he wouldn't, but he could probably change.
I don't think he has access.
Choose. I don't know, man. This seems like a cheap way to give your employees some benefits.
So they wouldn't say which exact names were available, but they give categories, right? Proper names, not pronouns. Proper names, pop culture references, types of food, geography and travel, science and technology. Kishore, you get a science and technology gamer tag, math and numbers, animals, and some of the greatest inventions of all time. Do you think maybe Xbox is in there?
Sliced bread.
Gamertag Xbox 420?
I haven't powered up my old Xbox in, 3 years probably.
I don't have it. I don't have my Xbox anymore. Yeah.
So
the original?
PS4 people?
You mean the original? The 360.
No, 360.
Okay.
All right. So one last bit of internet news or technology news. Hey, Instagram finally changed their app and logo. It's a source of great consternation to
burn it all down.
Instagram users.
Whatever.
It's a complete black and white interface with a rainbow logo. Who cares? It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. I'm going to play the keynote transition, and then we're actually going to go into...
moment of science. When he said he was going to go into, did you think he meant the bathroom? I think so.
I don't know. I heard some knocking. I think he meant to.
Got it. So, few stories up today. Biggest news in science going on right now is there's a big National Academy of Sciences report that came out on genetically engineered crops.
Okay.
So, the long and short of it is, if you had any feelings about GM labeling or just genetically modified foods, this report will just reinforce them. So
Okay.
if you believe that they're safe, this said things like they're safe. In fact, it actually said, hey, they're safe.
Oh.
If you had a
You
feeling,
mean any feelings?
yeah, if you had feelings that they should be labeled, they came out and said, hey, there's probably good reason for them to be labeled as well. But the key findings out of this genetically engineered food report is basically with new technology, we're blurring the lines between conventional hybridization of plants that's existed for hundreds of years and this genetic engineering that's happening. We can't really distinguish them so much anymore. And they're safe based off of a review of about 1,000 studies. And only academics were on this panel, so there was no folks from industry, though some critics have complained that some of these academics have ties to industry in some way, shape, or form.
Who funded the study?
The National Academy of Sciences, which is an independent arbitrator.
Got it.
Oh, who funded the studies themselves? It's a million different sources.
Ah.
There's no conclusive evidence of environmental harm from these ingredients, but they hedged that they're actually decreasing herbicide use at all, which is one of the chief, criticisms of GE products is that you use a lot more herbicides now, even just because of how they work. But at the same time, there's no evidence that they're accelerating how much yield the farmers are coming out with,
Oh.
which is actually a pretty damning criticism.
Wouldn't the farmers know that better than anybody?
Yeah, well, they're looking at the slope of acceleration that has existed across farming for a long period of time. So individual farmers are probably going to have a hard time doing that. Companies, like the big conglomerate companies, are probably doing that kind of analysis. But they're saying no increase in no acceleration. So it's safe. It may not be as much of a benefit as some of the industry is telling you. Nothing too shocking there. But we're going to go into that's the big science news story of the week, so I thought I'd throw that out there. But two interesting stories came up. Let's talk about oxygen. I've had to talk about oxygen so much this week.
How about light? Light and oxygen?
Light and oxygen.
Yeah.
Hardware,
Together.
software.
That's right.
It's a combination.
So we released a video on Monday of our visit to Carbon, previously known as Carbon 3D. They make the M1 3D printer using their proprietary clip technology, continuous printing. I forget what it stands for exactly. And there were some questions in the comments because Carbon, because it is proprietary, they could not disclose a lot of exactly how the chemistry worked. But
They're talking about Google VR now.
oh my God. All right. But the video was very well received, and it was really cool to see the demo in person. But what were the big questions that the viewers got out of from watching the video? How does oxygen come to play into 3D printing?
Well, that question was, I don't know why they didn't answer it, because it was published in that scientific paper that came out a year ago. So basically in that Carbon video, there's a cassette that the resin pool sits in, and it's coated with some proprietary ingredient. The science paper they published last year indicated it was coated with Teflon AF, which is a long chain of carbon with fluorine atoms instead of hydrogen atoms. And it naturally allows oxygen to permeate past it. That's just a property of that chemical compound. And when that oxygen goes up into the resin, just from air, it interferes with the UV light starting the resin cure. Because when UV light hits the resin, it initiates something called a free radical polymerization reaction. Basically, it hits the resin and it cascades, that energy forms a free radical, basically a molecule with an extra electron that starts cascading a reaction forward. Well,
oxygen inhibits.
When oxygen's in there, it hits that oxygen and it gets in the way of that reaction propagating. So even if it hits one of those molecules and starts that free radical, it'll hit an oxygen really quickly thereafter and stop it.
But the visible effect of this oxidation is a hardening?
No. So when the oxygen is present, nothing happens at all. So the light is hitting it and just like nothing happens. And it creates this sort of layer where it's just a pool of resin where nothing's happening. But as you sort of rise, there's a gradient of oxygen concentration in the resin because you're farther and farther away from that permeable layer. So as you get farther, the oxygen concentration goes down to the point where the cure process does start to go forward.
Also, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It keeps it from hardening.
Yeah, so you get a dead zone. And the idea behind this is now you have resin that is constantly in a pool underneath where your print actually starts. So you don't have to do that swipe and refill the resin into the area like other laser sort of lead SLA printers.
And is that their main speed advantage?
That is one big advantage there. There are some things with the software itself about how they slice and project.
Right. They say no layers, and that's because they're continuous flowing. But the slices are the equivalent of layers.
Yeah.
And so, how fast they change the projection image, what the slices determines the lines in the print. But they're not controlling the oxygen. I mean, they're only controlling it with the Teflon AF layer. They're not controlling the atmosphere at all.
They're not controlling the concentration from just
which
the air.
if they took that into account and have more control over that variable, which
probably could increase
the speed.
They could
increase the speed, absolutely.
So it's interesting to hear those comments. All of this is public information in the sense that it was published in scientific papers. I'm sure they refined what is in that cassette. It's not like standard off-the-shelf Teflon AF. I'm sure they've refined the UV light source to be custom, so it's emitting really specific wavelengths of light. For those that are really nerdy about this, we can talk about photon flux, but just tweet at me about that because it gets really complicated to talk about photon flux, which is like is similar to light intensity, but not the same, which is also another indicator of speed. But the reason I brought up oxygen, besides that joke, is for the longest time, we thought oxygen existed on this planet starting about 2.3 to 2.4 billion years ago. Okay. There's something called the Great Oxygenation Event.
Isn't the planet only about twice that old?
Yeah, it's just over 4 billion years old.
Okay.
So for those 2 billion years, there's no oxygen and essentially no life. And life started to really emerge. And some of these areas where oxygen really started to ramp up is coincides with certain animals and species really ramping up. So actually during when the dinosaurs were on the planet, the oxygen levels were higher than they are now. And they're able to be bigger because there's higher oxygen concentrations in the atmosphere.
More plants?
More plants, bigger creatures.
Wow.
So anyways, but what they discovered recently, a team was studying these iron deposits in West Greenland. They actually found trace oxygen concentrations going back 3.8 billion years ago.
Whoa!
So there is some indication. They don't know if this means that life developed earlier on the planet than we think. I mean, certainly the propagation of life didn't, but that's a huge factor of magnitude earlier than what we thought. I think this is one of the more interesting science stories that come up because it is so inexorably linked to life on this planet. So understanding that oxygen level and being able to trace history back 3.8 billion years and the techniques they use to track isotopes, basically how they did it is volcanoes, when they explode, emit a certain type of ash that gets hit with UV light from the sun that creates a certain type of isotope in that ash. And when it gets interned and becomes into rock, they are able to track that kind of isotope to date when things happen. It's crazy how much interesting stuff happened. But that's enough about oxygen. I think I'm done talking about oxygen on the site for a little while.
All right.
But maybe not light. But light and oxygen together, I'm done talking about.
Okay, in that combination. But let's talk about robots. And interesting, back to origami. Second time we mentioned it on this podcast today. Origami robots.
You put this up on the site, this video from MIT about a origami robot.
Yeah, which origami robots now, MIT CSAIL has been developing those for a while. Robots that have some self-awareness, that can deploy themselves.
Self-awareness is a little bit strong.
Maybe the designers have given it awareness of its form, and its form informs how it moves. But they designed a version of this as in a capsule form that you could swallow, and the robot then unfolds in your stomach and can maybe pull batteries out of your stomach lining.
Before we get to the application, which is really quite hilarious to me personally, what's interesting about this robot is it has a couple degrees of freedom, and it has magnets on it. And so even though it has a couple degrees of freedom and can move around, the level of complexity of the items in it is not very much. It's basically, it has a couple magnets on there, and they're able to enact a magnetic field from the outside that makes it move in a certain way. So we can put something inside of you and have it move around by varying the magnetic field around it.
On the outside.
Yeah. And so they had to encase this thing in something organic to get it down there. If this is getting very sci-fi, it feels that way.
It's like the Matrix.
So,
that,
yeah.
How large is it?
It's not large. It's maybe about, the size of a half
Big
your
aspirin.
thumb. Yeah. And it's designed to be about pill size and or large pill size. So they encased it in like sausage casing. And it has magnets and sausage casing, and they did this weird, like really kind of funny. It almost looks stop motion animation. The video.
They brought a cutaway model of a stomach, and then put the tube down, or put the pill down, its esophagus, into the stomach, and then over, I think it was a time lapse, watched it deploy, and illustrated how it could address wounds inside, internal bleeding.
And so one of the things they listed out as an application is about 3,500 people swallow those watch batteries every year. And because they do that, these things get embedded in the lining of stomachs and then release battery acid and cause wounds and stuff. So they created this robot that was surrounded by organic matter that they can manipulate, retrieve it. And because they didn't explain this part real well, but I think it's because it's encased in organic matter, it can be eliminated. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to expand upon.
Why stop there,
elimination.
though? It's biology.
What do you mean? Put it up the other way? What do you think?
No. Eliminate it. Aren't you talking about pooping it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
So I think it's interesting. It's gotten a ton of coverage this week, but they're so far from any sort of actual application. They talk about drug delivery and all of these things. I think it's more of an amazing feat of robotics that they can control a robot with that much precision using precise magnetic fields from the outside.
And the magnetic field is the thing that's doing the controlling, or is that being used as a signal?
Yeah, the unfolding of this robot that happens, I believe, is not necessarily... it's activated by the magnetic field, but it's sort of interactions with the magnets are leading the unfolding event. But its motion inside of you is led by the magnetic field.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I have one last story because I know something is going to happen this week. There's a study released this week that you're likely going to hear a lot about that said there is a definitive link between people that use social media a lot and depression. Norm, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
Okay,
A little nostalgic, but great.
I'm sure this is going to get a lot of news coverage. I want to tell a couple things about the study and then one big cautionary note. So they surveyed about 1,800 people, and they did find a statistically significant link between these people that use social media more than a few hours a day and a higher incident of depression.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
so what's the cause and what's the effect?
Yeah, so that is a key question. We don't know the direction of this. We don't know if people that already have depression use social media more, or that social media and depression are linked and they're sort of cyclical in nature, so they're causing each other because there are other variable factors, or there's some combination therein. So when you see reports this week that say social media causes depression, take it with a massive grain of salt. That is not what the study is saying. So take John Oliver's words from last week to heart.
That was good.
And if you haven't watched that John Oliver piece, you should. And finally, a recommendation. There's a big science festival around the world that's happening. It's called Pint of Science, where scientists are going into bars and pubs around the world. It's 12 different countries, May 23rd to 25th. So check one out. There's probably one near you, pineofscience.com, or if you're in the U.S., pineofscience.us. I'm going to about 3 of them. My favorite is there's a Davis researcher, her name's Gail Petrelli, who studies the mating habits of sage grouses. So she built a robotic one to do this dance, and she has the most hilarious videos of a bird mating dance that I've ever seen. That's it. That's where I'm going to end.
Hey, we got more podcasts coming at you, but I want to take this time to acknowledge and thank the second sponsor for this week's episode of This Is Only a Test, and that is SciOi. SciOi, it's a portable camera that also live streams. Think about that, an action camera that can live stream to YouTube. It's the perfect gift for crazy gadget dads and grads in your life. It's a new concept bringing mobile phone connectivity directly to an action camera. And basically, it's the size of other action cameras, but it's basically an Android device. It runs Android. And what that means, you can install applications to live stream. There's a button on the side of it. There's internal storage. You can record and press the button and then pipe it to YouTube. To imagine tagging along when your son goes out mountain biking, when your daughter is surfing those big waves, or when dad is wake surfing and makes his first big trick. The SciOi Iris 4G is a unique gift that will be appreciated by everyone in the family, both near and far. And there's a discount code for you guys, our listeners. Just use the offer code TEST at checkout. That's just TEST, like this podcast, at checkout on SciOi.com. SIOEYE.com, and you'll save some cash. And we all love saving cash. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks to SciOi for sponsoring this week's episode of This Is Only a Test. And now, I think we've been waiting for it. It's time for Virtual Reality This Week. It was going to be a pretty uneventful VR Minute this week until about 15 minutes ago when Kishore, you noticed on the Google live stream keynote, the Google I/O keynote, Android VR announced.
Yeah, it's not Android VR. It's Daydream.
Daydream.
It's a good name.
So while there were rumors up to last week that Google would make its own self-contained VR headset device, that is not what's happening. What they've done is establish a set of protocols and standards for hardware and software for Android N, that's the next version of Android 7.0 coming out, that will support VR. So imagine all the things that John Carmack had worked on Samsung VR, the low latency, the screens with low persistence, the faster refresh rates, and good VR performance, all of that kind of built into a standard so that phone manufacturers can get certified as Daydream certified phones. Now, the other thing they also announced is a controller. They do have a controller, and the controller looks kind of like a Wii Nunchuck.
It kind of reminds me of the Oculus remote.
Yes,
too.
That's what I thought too. It got a little. It looks like to be a circular touchpad at the top and 2 small buttons beneath it.
So it's not as ergonomic as maybe the Nunchuck or the Oculus Touch, but it is motion tracked.
Is it?
It is.
By an internal IMU?
It must
It's
be.
not positional motion track.
No.
Okay.
No.
None of that Project Tango stuff that you talked about last week, the spatial mapping, or...
I've skimmed this 3 times looking for it. It's just not there.
It's not there.
There's no positional tracking that's been mentioned about Daydream.
Yeah, and Daydream, I mean, the phones will have, the requirements for the phones will include sensors, and also Android N will have a VR mode, which will help with performance, lower latency, and also incorporates a UI, which is like the least they could do.
But the target is only 60 FPS. It's not 90. Like
Which
we're
is
seeing
60.
On the 60 is great.
It's fine for Gear VR. As long as you have things like, time warp on it.
But you have to acknowledge the deficiencies of growth from 60.
Yes, and I think, this is not a device or a standard technology to compare with high-end PC VR. It is really the next step, the logical next step for cardboard. And so people are going to make their equivalents. It'll be for companies like LG to make VR headsets that they don't develop from scratch on their own, and won't get as poor reception as their LG G5 VR headset.
What I'm actually really intrigued by is with the Google Play VR Home that is going to be integrated in Android N, there's actually a lot of content beyond the games that we kind of expected to be there. So they're really pushing YouTube and HBO Now and Netflix through this interface. And I think that's a really interesting play.
I don't know. I think that they've seen that media is far and away the most popular use case for Gear VR and
I bet pornography.
probably cardboard. Yeah. And so they're going all in on it. They're going all in on media. And that's, I guess it makes a certain amount of sense for a cell phone to focus on video, but I do wish that there was an opening for motion tracked through a 3D space, even from a seated position.
I wouldn't want that from a cell phone, though. I know that's a way to get it to tens of millions of users eventually, but it's asking a lot for someone who's buying a smartphone to put it on, drain the batteries, so you can have.
It's true. If people would certainly
experiences.
complain about the battery drain, that's true. But for people like us, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
They didn't announce a price, did they?
No,
I don't think so.
There's not for the controller. I'm just trying to track the news right now, but it's something we'll be following, of course, throughout the coming weeks, and getting our hands hopefully on a Daydream-enabled phone so we can test that out.
I believe developers can get a preview pretty soon.
Oh.
Do you want to cover the other parts of Google I/O that came out? I know we're in the
Let's
VR
get
minute.
that to the end. Let's get to the end because there's still more Google I/O. Software-wise, there's still more software. It's great to log on to Steam and go into the store and sort by release date because you're getting a bunch of stuff. Disney just released a compilation of their 360 video experiences. Unfortunately, that Star Wars Jakku experience, Return to Jakku or whatever it is, or Tatooine, the
Were
Vive
you
experience.
defending R2 in an X-wing?
Yeah, that is not. That's not fully there.
Oh, I haven't
believe.
downloaded it.
I want to say that's just video, but they're like putting their foot in the door for people to get 360, to put all of their 360 content in one space. Portal Stories was also released.
I finished that last night.
How was it? I haven't played it.
It's worth it. It's free if you own Portal 2.
It's a mod.
Technically they had to release it as a mod because that was the only way they could arrange licensing or using
that's
the
right,
Portal
'cause
name.
it's an Unreal Engine.
But it's actually made with Unreal Engine and it's standalone. But if you own Portal 2, it's free download. It does require Vive. It doesn't work with the Oculus. But it's certainly worth playing. It's only 20 minutes long. It's a taste for how some Portal mechanics could work in a VR space. I don't want to spoil it, but they mix it up a little bit. They add some new tools.
I mean, I think my hesitation is I'm still waiting to set up a bigger space.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
You could totally play this game standing. It's just like any teleport game where if you're standing and you teleport wherever you want to, it works fine.
All right. Kishore, you got your Rift last week. How's that been?
I've used friends' Rifts already. I've tried it out a couple places. So I wasn't sort of surprised about the experience. It wasn't like a first-time VR experience, but I was really blown away by a couple elements that came up. Last week I mentioned I wanted to use the Rift to actually watch something feature-length and see how comfortable it was.
Oh, yeah. Did you do it?
Yeah, I did. And so I can't say the experience of watching 360 video over or any video, not 360 video, like 180 video.
Well, are you talking about VR video or sitting in a movie theater, a virtual theater space, watching a movie on a screen?
Well, I watched it on, that's what I did for an extended period.
Okay.
I tried a bunch of 360 video. I don't like 360 video inside the Rift.
It's horrible.
Gross.
All of them.
Yeah.
It's just too low res, and it just doesn't work.
But that sort of watching the movie experience, I did it. It was okay. The thing that was great about it was the audio in the Rift is just really good. And I felt like that really worked well. It was comfortable up to that hour and a half point. I don't know how long you guys have been in the game, but I was really impressed by that. It works over my glasses, so I maintained my glasses in the headset the whole time. But the one thing that really blew me away, and we've talked about it before, was my favorite thing so far has been the Apollo 11 experience. That immersive educational experience. Like, I was tearing up.
Me too.
Like, sitting there with Neil Armstrong on my way to the moon. It was so well done, and it had me appreciate something I knew stuff about the Apollo 11 mission, but my appreciation and experience of it like was off the charts. And that's the first thing I put my wife into in VR when she tried it, and it was awesome.
The one thing I never really appreciated until I went through that experience was, okay, Neil and Buzz are on the moon. How do they get back up to the capsule? How do they attach to that? And that's one thing that they actually skipped over. They go from a liftoff straight to the landing or re-entering the atmosphere. They don't talk about that. But so that's now a question that I have, having been on the moon and experienced that firsthand.
It was great. It really opens up interesting possibilities for educational immersive experiences. Because I played Lucky's Tale, I played Eve Valkyrie. They're fine. I like good experiences, but they're not games they're not that AAA game that I'm going to keep coming back to in some way. As opposed to this experience was the one that I texted people about, and I was like, you got to try this.
VR, like as an empathy amplifier, it works for this reason, because it puts people in those shoes rather than treating it as an adventure that someone else had.
And your attention is focused.
Yeah.
There's no tuning out watching a documentary.
That's exactly right. You can't check your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. Not yet. Not your track phone yet.
I have to say, I mean, I know there are little apples and oranges, but I'm, obviously I want the hand tracking, but I've enjoyed the Rift more than my experiences in the Vive, because I can stay in the Rift a lot longer, and it's a lot more conducive just to my life right now, meaning I can just pop it on when I have a free 30 minutes.
Much more convenient.
And for right now, that's great. I mean, there's so many limitations not having hand track controllers right now, but hopefully that'll be fixed here soon.
Jeremy, you put your kid through an interesting VR experience.
Vanishing Realms. So we've talked about this before. It's the game made by Kelly Bailey, former Valve employee. It's
VR Zelda.
Yeah, it's up on Steam. It's a dungeon crawler, first person. You teleport around the space. You acquire weapons and a shield. And I liked it. It's a good experience. It's especially amazing as a product of one person. I mean, quite a multi-talented guy, but it's a great experience that I didn't find too scary. I actually didn't find it that hard either when I played it. The monsters are pretty tame. You learn their limitations. This was a game where Kelly said that everyone who came through CES had a different fighting style, which I thought that was very interesting. That unlike a game like Prince of Persia, or a game where you learn the mechanic and you master it, you just fight. You move your sword as you normally feel comfortable doing. And so I wanted to see what my 9-year-old thought of that, because he loves VR. Anything, he gets to do it once a week because I don't want to screw up his eyes. But so he dove in there. I said, let's try this one, and he was utterly terrified
because of the interesting environment, not even the combat.
Even before he got to the combat, he walked into this dungeon, and it's like those videos you watch of people in the guillotine or in the scare dungeons, and they're funny on YouTube. But I'm telling you, when you see somebody experience this firsthand, it's absolutely amazing to watch. And I was comforting him, but I wouldn't tell him what was behind the doors. I wanted him to experience the first person experience for real. And I said, you don't have to do this. We can do this later when you're older if you want to. But he stuck to it, and he was terrified. Like, he would hear this voice echoing, and he would just cringe. And he would creep around corners, and finally, when he finally came to a monster, he went into a fetal position. He was terrified. And then he would stand back up, and then he slowly approached him, and then as soon as he activated the monster and he started to fight him, he just totally switched gears into his
fighting mode,
ninja Jedi mode, and he destroyed the monster. I've never seen him so elated in his life. And he went upstairs, and my wife was like, what happened down there? He's in such a good mood. So there's just so many interesting psychological effects of VR for kids and adults.
And I'm sure someone is making it, but the thing I've wanted the most out of the Vive is the combination of that combat style with Space Pirate Ninja. I want the Gladiator Horde Simulator, where one monster comes at you, and you fight it with your shield and sword, and then maybe it wears over time, and then you fight waves and waves of monsters, and you don't need to, there's no dungeon exploring, nothing. It's just the melee combat simulator. I want that.
Yeah.
and I know that you need maybe because Vanishing Realms has somewhat body approximation, right? They use IK. You see your body because you see your belt, but because your hips aren't tracked, and your hips are very important for body tracking. I would love to see in the future for Vive, and it's absolutely possible if someone developed a system where you could just have your hips tracked, and so just those points, your hands approximate your shoulders and your neck, and use the head, of course, and then your hips, so that you have a hitbox that's realistic enough, and then do a gladiator simulator. You have a sword, you have a shield, or maybe you have a bow and arrow, or a mace, or ninja stars or something, but just room scale fighting monsters that run around you.
I like the idea of that, because if there's if the gladiator ring is your play space, because one thing that teleporting does is it takes me out of the experience.
Exactly, you're right. I the things I love about and if you have that 15 by 15 or 20 foot by 20 foot, that's plenty of space to navigate around a monster, around multiple monsters, and perfect for multiplayer. All right, if you had a friend and you're just fighting back to back,
Oh, cooperatively?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fine idea. It's just a matter of time.
I mean, playing whatchamacallit, raw data. I love using the katana in raw data.
Oh, I haven't gotten that far.
And it has, the katana, you always get the katana. You just got to pull it from your back and activate it.
I didn't know I had anything more than a gun.
I love those robots coming at you and you slicing. And there's a lot of, I think, design in the satisfaction of how the AI reacts to, an air slice, because you're just holding these controllers. So realistic physics that way. Maybe the stronger the weapon, then the heavier the enemy, and the more resistance they get. But I think there's a lot of satisfaction that can come from that. So I'm still wishing for that game. That will do it for the VR Minute. We are running low on time, not only for this podcast, but in this office. So we're going to quickly check in back with Kishore and Google I/O keynote. What's new?
Android Wear 2.0 came out, streamlining. Well, it actually won't be available to the fall. They're streamlining around three key things: watch faces, messaging, and fitness.
Now, messaging, they'll allow handwriting recognition, drawing directly on the watch.
Exactly, and a keyboard. And the keyboard, I'm let's see what the implementation actually looks like.
Aren't we just doing voice? Why would we want to write on our watch?
That's a very good point.
I think that's a great point. But they seem to be thinking about this correctly, because I have in Android Wear 1, I have all these apps that are like Amazon on your watch. I'm like, I'm never going to use Amazon on my watch. But they are going to have direct network access even when your phone is off. So you'll be able to use your watch without your phone, which is, I think, a huge leap forward in terms of some of these integrations. We'll see how that looks going forward. Android N, definitely coming out this fall. Doesn't sound like a big shift from their developer preview, which I took part in. Biggest feature there is going to be split screen. And split screen, I think if you have like the big phablet-sized phone, can be useful. So on my 6P, I thought split screen was great in certain cases. I don't know if I see that for a majority of Android users, just because the screen's just not big enough for split screen.
All right. And of course, I.O. is going to be, it's not just today, it's going on the rest of the week. So we'll have a full recap of those events from our Android expert, Ryan Whitwam, on the site afterward. But looks like some nice things happening. I'm very surprised they're doing it at the Shoreline Amphitheater, that rock concert venue outdoor. Yesterday it was super hot, like almost 100 degrees down there.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's not going to be that great for developers. But let's move on to our final segment. Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing? Very quickly, Kishore?
I'm going to be in the Rift for like the next few weeks.
Awesome.
See you later.
Jeremy?
I'm still playing around in Unity, also in the Rift, although this is actually on the Vive. I transitioned from a tennis game to a ping pong game
Oh.
because it's slower hand movements. It's just a lot easier to track that and get accurate collision. And but I've solved the problem of the ball passing through the paddle. So this is good positive steps. I'm loving it. I think it's a really fun. It's a fun time to be making a little tiny game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad you're having fun with it. We have a review of the Carvey up on the site now. I really like it, except I think it's unless you have specific projects fit within the parameters of what it can do, it's not something for you to put a $2,000 machine in your home just to do. I think it's going to be great for makerspaces and definitely classrooms for people to learn software, because the software easel is so easy to use. That's from Inventables. We have a video coming up next week where Patrick and I break into some mechanical keyboards and really talk about the differences between some of the current generation of $150 keyboards from all sorts of manufacturers. And then we are going to see a Strawn-based soon. The Teo Janssen exhibit is coming to the Exploratorium in San Francisco, and there are some previews for that event. So we'll be going there with Adam. So please look forward to that on the site. And of course, this is our final podcast, the last episode of This Is Only a Test that we'll ever record in this office.
Dun dun.
Yes, we have no lights.
Hey, we didn't mention what's this weekend? On Saturday.
That's right, Maker Faire. Oh my goodness, there's so much going on. There's a Star Trek event on Friday. We'll be there at Maker Faire. Kishore going to be there. Jeremy going to be there.
I'll be there Saturday.
If you guys are out there, please say hi. Come by. We'll be there Saturday and Sunday. Adam's doing a talk on Sunday, and Will, our very own Will Smith, ex-tested Will Smith, is doing a talk on, as he loves to say, cheeseburgers and smartphones. I bet he'll talk about flash memory in that as well.
We missed one piece of news, and that's the new Arduino. It's called the Primo, and they're actually unveiling it at Maker Faire this weekend.
Oh,
it's got built-in Wi-Fi, NFC, and infrared.
I gotta check it out.
I'm excited.
I'm hopefully there's a vacuum forming Kickstarter that I think will be there. I want to check that out. Lots of cool things.
There's some weird science stuff that's actually coming out at Maker Faire too. So
Yep.
I'm going to be all over that. Come say hi. I love it when people come say hi.
Me too.
And that will do it for us for this week's episode of This Is Only a Test. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Put on your calendars if you're in the Bay Area and want to come by our offices on May 29th. That's right, Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Skip your barbecue or do it on Monday. Come by and pick up something. We have this gorgeous alien egg.
Planter.
May be up for grabs.
What time should they show up, Norman?
The information will be on test.com, and I will tweet it out. Those details are to be determined.
Cool.
But we have some cool stuff here, and we'd love to see you in person. I will not lick things. I will sign things, and I will take selfies. And maybe we'll have some other people here also, if you're available.
It depends what the pay is.
Oh, wow.
He can pay you in Lego and
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Hanky, the Christmas poo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Please take that, Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. Kishore and Jeremy, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find Kishore at Science Quiche on Twitter.
That's right. I also host a science podcast called Inquiring Minds. This week we actually have an ex-captain of the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior talking about his ship getting bombed by the French and exploring areas where there was nuclear testing done by the Americans in the 50s.
Wow, a real adventurer. You can find me at Jerware on Twitter. Jerware.
Awesome. And you can find me at Enchan and all of our videos youtube.com/testedcom, or just go to the site testedcom. We have a lot of premium videos going up on a regular basis. Adam's answering more questions, everyone, and we may be announcing a new poster soon, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Here's an outro that's the goodie.
Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested. I don't want anything to do with that stuff. I'm farty enough naturally.
Speaking of people saying hi, I want to say hi to Charles, who said hi at Pinagogo. Tested fan and Game Frame backer.
Woo!
Best kind of people.
Awesome. Hi and bye.